Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kaur Lovepreet, a student here at EdUHK. Today, I'm standing here on stage to share a certain experience that changed my perception about a lot of things in life, especially involving emotions and technology. Does anybody ever here feel a little dead sometimes? Yes, emotionally dead. It is possible. I dare say worse than ever in this era of technology. What I'm going to talk about today, the experiences I face, is because I remember without that connection and understanding of myself, I lost a lot of my confidence, a lot of my self-esteem, and a whole chunk of my identity. In order to know why and how, I would need to tell you a little bit more about myself. My mother was 14. That's my mother, when she moved to Hong Kong. And at the age of 21, she and my father got married, and they decided that my father would move from India to Hong Kong in hopes of a better future. It wasn't easy at all. They struggled with a lot of things, like language barrier, as Chinese is a very difficult language, as all of us can agree, homesickness, and even occurrence of discrimination sometimes. And today, I'm not here to really talk about how connected we are with each other. I'm here to question how connected or disconnected are we from ourselves? Do you remember the last time a rush of emotions cropped up and you gave those emotions time to settle in? Do you remember the last time you did not just let life swallow you and your emotions? My parents, as they have struggled for quite a bit of time, they've been living in Hong Kong for around 20 years, and they've always taught me one thing, which was not to be vulnerable. It was something they told my brother and I from a very young age. And I never quite understood what it actually meant. So I did ask my dad, and I remember him saying, "I'm preparing you for life in the real world. I do not want people to think you're weak, because they will not think twice before using you." It was something he said to me as a child, but it stuck with me for a very long time. Which is why, for a very long time, I allowed life to swallow me and my emotions, especially the negative ones, because I thought they made me weak. I'd show people my smiles and laughter, but I would never show someone my tears or my frown lines. This bottling up of emotions led to a huge drop in my confidence. I wasn't confident to be Lovepreet anymore, because Lovepreet as a person is very emotionally invested. But now it seemed like I was just running away from a part of myself. Only in high school, my perception started to change, because I was around people that were more like me. My high school consisted of students and teachers from over 40 countries. There were a lot of students whose parents had immigrated from Hong Kong from all around the world. But the students around me were very comfortable and confident when it came to meeting new people, unlike myself. The diverse environment challenged my identity as a person, to the point I had enough. I was tired of being generic and unsure about my feelings. I was tired of being hesitant and always cautious when it came to meeting new people. So I decided to look around me. Look around the people, the teachers, the students, what they had and I didn't. And I realized one thing. The people around me were not shy of their emotions. They owned their emotions so well, it seemed like no one could bring them down. At that point, I knew running away from my emotions was not the solution to my problem. I needed to come to peace with my emotions. I needed to discover the secret these people had and I did not know. However, I did not have enough courage to ask anyone because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I was having an identity crisis when everyone around me seemed like they were perfectly fine. I was also very scared to talk to someone because talking to someone meant opening up. and opening up to someone in my mind was showing the weak side of me. While I was trying to figure all of this out, another curveball was thrown at me, also known as a phone. Everyone has a phone. I'm pretty sure someone is holding their phone in their hands right now. And what I realized with that was I started to notice that time in Hong Kong seemed like it was literally flying. Does anybody ever feel that? Like days just pass by in a blur? Is time really flying in Hong Kong? Or we simply don't feel the perception of time because we're more technologically advanced? If that's the case, that means our phones, our laptops, our other electronics are doing such a good job at suppressing our emotions to the point we don't even feel the perception of time. That was true in my case when I was suffering from the numbing effects of technology. The numbing effects of technology is when technology disrupts our connection with our inner selves or acts as a barrier from acknowledging our emotions. This effect sucks the color out of our lively emotions. For example, when we're scrolling through our social media feeds and we feel these short-lived emotions, and then immediately we move on to another emotion. Or are those just a facade of emotions? Worse than this, there are these short-lived interval periods when we're scrolling where we feel nothing at all. Nothing at all, to the point our minds are blank. Even standing here on stage, I've always wondered, how can a lifeless device that fits into our hand control our lively emotions? The ability to feel emotions and express these emotions is what makes us humans, humans. When we allow an inanimate object like our phones to take away a part of who we are, that is a very dangerous concept. Personally, I'm more concerned than fascinated. We humans already have quite a few forms of identity crisis. But allowing one due to an inanimate object is not something I'm up for in the future. Ironically, when I was back in high school dealing with my own identity crisis, I discovered a platform called YouTube. A place with millions and millions of videos that help you procrastinate on a lot of things in life, such as emotions, homework, life problem. I'm pretty sure all of you can relate when I say I fell down a rabbit hole on YouTube and I didn't realize until hours later. It wasn't a problem until my parents started noticing this, and they started to ask me more and more questions about my progress in school. Frankly, I found that annoying because I was a big girl who didn't need to be babysat and I knew what I was doing. And also, I did not want them to worry about this phase that I was going through. The deadlines that kept piling up did not help my situation either. I started to feel useless, like I couldn't even fulfill the basic requirements of a student. This led to a lot more self-doubt, a lot more of pushing my parents away, and a lot of unnecessary tension at home. But did the old me do anything about it? No, not really. I just thought to myself, let me just watch more YouTube videos and I can think about other things later. I can think about how to gain more confidence, how to improve my self-esteem, how to have a better relationship with my parents, how to stop being paranoid later. At this point, my mental strength had started to weaken. I could not control, or best said, hide my emotions as well as before. I started to feel and show emotions like anger at myself, at my parents, at the teachers that created the deadline. I started to panic a lot more too, since I was rushing most of my assignments. I was unhappy with my grades, with my situation, with myself. But to be honest, in that point of life, I did not know what to do. So I just watched more YouTube videos to stop thinking about the problems that were right in front of me. After a month into this new routine of mine, my parents tried to jump in. They tried to help, but I didn't let them in. Because as a person who believes showing emotions was a weakness, I couldn't let them in. This continued on, and I realized that this is not the ideal thing for me, but I really didn't know how to handle this problem. Luckily and coincidentally, one literature class, we were discussing about a character in one of our assigned readings when the question, how they handle their emotions, came up. And I remember our teacher said to us, all our emotions are of equal value. No emotion is better than another. And the moment we stop placing our emotions in a hierarchy and start placing them on an equal playing field, we will come to peace with ourselves. That really struck a chord. I realized all my life I'd only wanted to be happy. I'd only wanted to laugh. More importantly, I wanted nothing to do with emotions like sadness, guilt, grief, fear, and many other negatively perceived emotions. But if you think about it, we humans learn and grow most from these negatively perceived emotions. This was the secret that I was trying to discover. I realized I needed to learn how to accept my emotions and how to channel them in the right way. As individuals, we all have the right to channel our emotions the way we want to. Take nervousness for an instant. No one likes to feel nervous. No one really likes to get those butterflies. Me standing here on stage is the same thing. But usually we feel nervous because we care about a certain thing or an event. But with moving screens blocking our thought process, we tend to stop at labeling the emotion. Nervousness. We never process the underlying factors of why we are nervous and why it is okay to be nervous. Which is why I decided to give myself a chance. I realized it's a matter of choice. I can choose to continue whatever I was doing and be miserable, or I can choose to learn to face my emotion and strengthen myself. One of the examples of this was viewing my parents' pressure as a form of motivation. If you think about it, my parents have expectations on me, not to pressure me. It's because they believe in me. And once I realized that this negatively labeled emotion can encourage me and not just undermine me, I liked the fact that my parents had some sort of expectations on me. I feel like it was their way of showing that they care. Only with that epiphany, I changed my attitude and allowed improvement to happen. So how will I avoid this type of situation, this type of numbing effect in the future? I learned that there are 3 steps we can all do. The first is to realize. I had to realize that I am the owner of my phone. We all are owners of our devices. And as owners, we can switch them off. As simple as this may sound, it doesn't happen quite often. Try remembering the last time you switched off your phone. It might be a little difficult because maybe we haven't even switched off our phones since the day we've got them. The second step is to give chance to our emotion. Give them time to settle in. Like how I needed to stop thinking my emotions as a form of weakness and start giving them a second thought. And once I started giving my emotions a second thought, I started to learn more about myself. Once we give chance to our emotions, we also need to learn how to balance the value of our emotions. We need to know how to stop being biased to our emotions. All our emotions are equals because all of them balance each other out. Like sadness balances happiness. Fear is balanced by courage. Shame is balanced by confidence. Hate is balanced by love. And the day we accept all our emotions as a valuable part of ourselves, we will understand more of ourselves. And the more we understand ourselves, the more connected we are with our inner selves. After all those incidents that I've talked about, I realized I was more of a coward when I was hiding my emotions, because I was constantly afraid of being judged and taken advantage of. And the moment I stopped thinking my emotions as a weakness, I started to feel stronger and proud, because I finally had the courage to say, I can and I am sad sometimes. And I can and I am afraid sometimes. This change of attitude allowed me to become more human and approachable to the people around me. Because of this, I made very important friends in my life. Some of them are sitting here in the audience today. I know if I ever need a shoulder to cry on, they will always be there for me. It is still not too late to stop this unnecessary numbness. Let's disconnect our Wi-Fis and connect with ourselves. Let's put our phones down and allow our heads to rise. Let's turn off all these devices before they turn us off. Thank you.